Hey guys, welcome to Tabletop Never Stop. Today we're talking about the Lannister combat units. So, right off the bat, we have our Lannister Guards. They cost 5 points. 4 speed, which is slow. They hit on 4s with a 6, 5, and 3 dice. That's a bad dice line. But they have 3 defense, which is very good defense. Just kind of standard Lannister morale. And then a special ability. When this unit is attacked and passes its panic test, the attacker must make a panic test with -2 to their roll. And there you go. So these guys are pretty garbage at combat without giving them an attachment to help them out. But they're also hard to kill. Although their morale isn't great, if they do pass it, they're going to put a bad test for your enemy. So all in all, these guys are very good at holding either like just the line or an objective. There's a lot of stuff that goes pretty well in them. The guard captain will allow them to automatically pass their panic tests, which is especially good for these guys because it means that the enemy will not have to make a panic test. So the cost of one guy to do that is probably almost always worth it. So that's a good fit for them. They'll be around a while since their defense is so good. So the assault veteran, who will give them a +1 to hit and 2 extra dice when they're engaged, is also a good fit for these guys. And both of those only cost 1, which means you can field that unit with for only 6 points. Another really good fit for them is actually the Jaime Commander, as he will allow all their successful defense saves to become free automatic hits. That's actually really powerful. In fact, of course you can't put him on all of them, but if you could put him on all of them, why wouldn't you? It's pretty good. So that's the Lannister Guardsmen. It's a very cheap, useful unit. Just they're not so great if you're trying to run up on the enemy, but you shouldn't be doing that as Lannisters anyway. Next is our Lannister Halberdiers. These guys cost 6 points. They have a movement of 5. They hit on 4s. Their dice line is 7, 7, 3. So they have a lot of staying power until they don't. So they'll be rolling 7 dice, and then all of a sudden they'll be rolling 3 dice, which is less good. They have a defense of 4 up, which is pretty good. That's standard Lannister morale. And then over here, this is why we're taking these guys. Once per turn, they have set for charge. If they are unengaged and charged from the front, they get to make an attack action against the enemy before the enemy gets to attack them. So that's pretty great. Free attacks are always awesome. And they also have Sundering, which allows them to get through that armor and get those hits in. It's worth noting that these guys, although set for charge is a great ability, if the enemy is too scared to charge you, you can just go ahead and charge in yourself. 7 dice on 4 isn't nothing. They have Sundering, so they're going to get some hits in. If the enemy's not really trying to come at you, you can come at them. As far as attachments, the Assault Veteran's a good choice. They're probably going to be engaged at some point, and additional dice into hit is quite good. Ideally, with that scenario, you got them set up somewhere on an objective probably. The enemy goes ahead and charges you. You get your free attack, then they attack you. Hopefully you're still on your 2nd rank after that attack, and then now you make an attack with the Assault Veteran and you get your 2 extra dice and you're hitting on 3s. So that's pretty dangerous, especially when you put the Sundering into it. You could also potentially put Jaime, the non-commander version, on these guys. He's 2 points, so that would take them up to 8. He allows them to fight as if they're 1 rank higher, and then +2 when they're at full. So they would start with 9 dice. When they're at 7, it wouldn't really do anything, but when they're down to their last rank, when they kind of suck, they'd still be fighting with 7 dice, which is good. All right, now we got the Mountainsmen. These guys are probably my favorite, I guess because I'm more of an aggressive player. So the first 2 units we looked at are very defensive, and these guys are a good counterplay to that. So like you run a mixture of those guys, and so Mountainsmen, you can really set up some good like hammer and anvil style situations. So these guys have a speed of 5. They hit on 3s with 8, 6, 4. So, the line drops off, but this 8 dice is pretty good to begin with. They have 4 defense, which is fine, and normal Lannister morale. And they have critical blow and vicious. So that's rolls of 6 cause 2 hits, and they also give -2 to panic tests by their attacks. These guys are also 6 points, and that's a fair amount of damage for what you're paying. Either version of the Moutain goes really well with these guys. If you take the commander version, they will panic the enemy when they charge and get a additional D3 wounds. So that combos really well with Vicious. And So that's the kind of thing that could almost kill a unit in one go. Like if you get lucky with your critical blows, and then you get your additional D3 wounds, and then they're probably going to fail their panic tests now that they're just gone, potentially. And then the non-commander version is not bad either. He gives them additional dice, additional 2 dice, and sundering. So that's going to really allow them to get some wounds in. You don't necessarily want to run all defensive units, so putting some mountainsmen can really add some power to your army. Alright, here is the Lannister range unit, the Crossbowmen. They hit on 3s with their crossbows, and 7-7-3, and then their short swords, they hit on 4s, 5-4-3. Defensive 5 and morale of 8, but that's what you'd probably expect from a ranged unit. And of course their range is long range, and they have sundering. So this 3 up, 7 dice attack with sundering is pretty good. These guys cost 6. And you probably don't want to put any attachments on them. You could potentially put Braun on them because he can give bonuses to ranged units, but Braun's kind of unreliable. You have to have the wealth icon to use him. Otherwise, and if you don't do it, now you've just spent 2 points on an attachment that does nothing. So you're probably going to want to run these guys vanilla for right now. We'll see if something else comes along eventually. Alright, here's our Knights of Casterly Rock. These guys cost 8. Have speed of 5, defensive 3, and morale of 6. They're almost like 2 separate units. So with their lance attack, when they're on the charge, they roll 3 extra dice, so they're up to 9 dice. They have critical blow and sundering, which is super good. And then if they're not charging, meaning if they don't kill the unit or if someone else charges them, they roll 6 dice and hit on 3s. That's fine, but it's not the same as with their charging. So these guys, you want to follow the ABCs. Always be charging. Now, if they're not charging, if they get stuck in combat, they do have Lannister supremacy. Pass their panic test, the enemy makes a panic test, just like the Guardsmen. That's not nothing. It can definitely help them out. But ideally, I think you want to run these guys kind of in tandem with something else. So let the unit go in and wound the enemy, and then finish them off with these guys, so then they can use their free maneuver to get out of there and come back in for another charge. These guys need to be charging to be effective. There's really only one attachment they could take, and that's the mounted Gregor attachment. And he actually works pretty well with what you want to do with these guys. He adds if they charge an enemy, the enemy becomes panicked, which can help out with Lannister supremacy, and he causes them to do an additional D3 wounds. So that will help them actually blow up a unit, hopefully. And then he also gives them overrun, which means if they successfully destroy a unit, instead of getting a free maneuver, they can get a free charge, which is perfect. But it does bring these guys up to 11 points. So you have to decide if that's a thing you want to do or not. But he definitely works with this unit. It's worth trying out for sure. Speaking of Gregor Clegane, here he is on his lonesome. He costs 4 points. Speed of 5. Hits on 3 ups with 4 dice, 2 defense, and morale of 3. So this is a very unique unit. Nothing like it else really even exists. You could kind of compare him to the Dire Wolves, except for he's got a lot more health. So he's a cavalry unit, so he gets his free maneuver. And then when he comes in with his 4 dice, he gets critical blow, and he becomes panicked, and they don't get defense saves. So not getting defense saves is probably the important part through high defense targets, like, for example, the Sworn Shields. But, of course, he just only got 4 wounds, so even with that high defense, he can definitely get killed. So you want to basically either use them as like a surgical strike, send them in for the unit that's going to give you trouble and just get rid of them, or use them to hunt like weak units. He's on a much smaller base than the standard army group, so he can definitely squeeze through and get to people. And that's what you're going to want to do with Gregor. And that takes us to the Pyromancers. So this is the new unit for the Lannisters. It's been spoiled but not released. They have a speed of 5. They have a melee and a range attack. Range attack hits on 3s with a dice line of 6-5-3. The melee attack is identical. They have defensive 6+, meaning they basically don't have defense, and morale of 7, which is Lannister standard. Their range attack is only short ranged, but defenders do not get defense saves against it, and it's vicious, making panic tests harder. And the melee attack works basically the same, but if they roll a 1, it deals a wound to them and to the unit they're attacking. So this is, another way to pierce armor. I'm not sure how much I really like a short-range ranged unit, because they're gonna have to get pretty close to do anything. But 6 dice without on 3s without defense saves isn't bad. If you do something crazy like charge in on them, you get the rerolls, so you're probably gonna do 5 to 6 wounds. These guys cost 7. I probably wouldn't put an attachment on them because these guys are gonna die. It's just gonna happen. But hopefully you can do a lot of damage with them beforehand. I guess really it's hard to say with these dudes. We're gonna want to play them. They seem a little reckless for the rest of the Lannister playstyle to me. So that's the Lannister units. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think and which unit you're most excited to bring onto the battlefield. I'll see you guys later. Hey, you're still here. Since you are, I have a bit of a favor to ask. I don't just make crappy YouTube videos in my spare time. I also write novels and short stories. And I recently published a short story to Kindle called They Dance in Dark Suspension. It's basically the day in the life of a group of giant squid off the coast of India. If that sounds even a little bit interesting, do yourself and me a favor and check it out. I'm going to include a link in the description, and it's only $1. And if there's any Ironborn out there, it's what the drowned god would want. Thanks a lot, and what's dead may never die.